Hi, I'm Debbie Johnson. I'm the founder of Without Permission. So we're a local anti-trafficking organization in the Central Valley. And today I'm going to give you a snapshot of human trafficking, just a brief snapshot of what human trafficking is and what it looks like. And so nationally, we have a national human trafficking hotline, and it's posted by the Polaris Project. If you'll take a look at this slide, this is a slide from the Polaris Project, and it gives you an idea of the volume and the locations of human trafficking across our country. The more red the geography, the higher volumes of calls for help. The state of California, according to Polaris, generates the #1 volume of calls for help to that national hotline. The next closest state to California is Texas. Do you know that California generates over 61% more calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline than the state of Texas? Did you also know that according to humanrights.org, that human trafficking is a $150 billion industry worldwide. Also, here nationally, in 2018, according to the Federal Human Trafficking Report, of all the cases being prosecuted and handled active in the year 2018 here in our nation alone, over half of those cases, victims were children. That's right, children. Children being 17 years old or younger. Over half of the cases being worked on at the federal level in 2018, the victims of those cases were all children. Also, did you know that in 2019, according to the Department of State, the cases being tried at the federal level, they were able to identify the origins, home countries, if you will, of the victims. Those 3 countries were the Philippines, Mexico, and the United States of America. So the victims, more than half of them were children. They come from and originate from 3 major countries around the globe: Mexico, Philippines, and of course the United States of America. And it's over $150 billion industry. And so let me define it for you. In 2000, we created as a nation the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, and it defines human trafficking. I'm going to put up this slide here for you, and I'm going to let you read along with me as we define human trafficking according to the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. A, sex trafficking, in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion. Force, fraud, or coercion. When you are talking about human trafficking, 1, 2, or all 3 of those will always be present. The statute goes on to say, and in which the person induced to perform a commercial sex act has not achieved the age of 18 years of age. So according to state and federal law, if you are under the age of 18 years old and you are involved in a commercial sex act, you're a victim of a crime, and that crime is human trafficking. Really important, I want to go back to force, fraud, or coercion. Words that are synonymous that we use more actively in our everyday language would be violence, trickery, and manipulation. When you are talking about human trafficking, violence, trickery, and manipulation will always be present. And according to state and federal law, if you're under the age of 18 and involved in a commercial sex act, we do not have to prove force, fraud, or coercion. The fact that you are a child involved in a commercial industry, in a commercial act, makes you a victim of that crime. If you're 18 years old, we prove force, fraud, or coercion. The definition that we need to capture today is a commercial sex act. Define it, if you will, for me, or follow along, I guess, as I define it for you. A commercial sex act is anything of value exchanged for the sex act. Anything of value exchanged for a sex act. The key is there is always an exchange. I'll buy you a cheeseburger if you a hungry runaway. You can sleep here tonight if something's really bad at home and doesn't want to go home. There's always an exchange. The statute goes on in Section B to describe labor trafficking. Labor trafficking, the recruiting and harboring and transporting or provision for obtaining a person for labor or services through the use of, here we go again, force, fraud, or coercion. Remember, violence, trickery, manipulation. For the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, debt bondage, peonage, and slavery. So this is another form of human trafficking. There's all forms, different types of human trafficking. There's child soldiers, there's child brides, there's labor work, there's sex trafficking. And so all of these are forms of this crime that this statute is referring to. But I'm going to hone in on sex trafficking because nearly 90% of the trafficking that, almost 100% of the human trafficking that we've dealt with over the last 12 years is sex trafficking locally here. And I want to give you an idea of what that looks like and the recruitment processes and the outcomes of what that looks like. In short, human trafficking is referred to as modern day slavery at the federal level. When we're talking about who our victims are and how traffickers target their victims, remember that traffickers recruit victims wherever youth hang out. This is a list I'm providing for you in this slide that shows you different locations where survivors that we have served at our local nonprofit without permission have told us they met their trafficker for the very first time. And so a trafficker targets their victims and they target them anywhere youth hang out. I'd like to play a video for you so that you can hear what it's like for these victims once they've been targeted and once they are involved in the sex industry and being sold as product to people willing to purchase them. Take a look.
I'm 17, I'm from Chicago.
I'm 16, I'm from Ohio.
My age is 19 and I was originally from Arkansas, Fort Smith.
I'm from California and I'm 14 years old.
I'm 18 and I'm from the Bay Area.
Like people would never have guessed like me walking into a store that I was stuck doing what I was doing. And there's no body type, there's no skin color, there's no age, there's no location where, you know, it's everywhere.
I never really had like a permanent home that I was really in. I was always moving around.
I ran away from home and my pimp came up to me and told me like, oh, you're beautiful. Like you know, at that time I didn't know what he is. Like slowly he started introducing it to me like okay, I got a little job for you.
And how old were you?
I was 15.
He made it come off as like we were like together and stuff like that because we would always go on dates and stuff. And then he started like doing little things. And then I was like, wow. So he would be like what we would call like a boyfriend pimp.
Like a lot of pimps do that. They find a girl that's a runaway or broken or lost, you know, they find the vulnerable ones. That's what they do. They know how to choose them.
Is there anything that was going on like with your family that allowed this to happen?
When I was 12, I was raped, and I felt like nobody in my family, they all kind of, you know, pushed it away. I just didn't feel like I had a home anymore. I just felt so incomplete.
Well, I wasn't really sexually active until after I came back from Atlanta, when the guy who my mom thought was my dad had molested me. So I became sexually active after that. But I never really had sex until I got into life. 3 guys, you know, potentially tried to rape me. So I ended up trying to run away. And then that's where I met my pimp when he was coming back, and he was trying to help me at the moment. After everything got settled down, I ended up sleeping with him. And then that was what kind of got me in the trap.
My parents, they never really had money, so my dad kind of took advantage of me being the only girl in the family and used me so we could provide for their needs, as they'd say. So
How old were you?
It was before I could remember. I started having flashbacks and stuff at the age of like 6 and all that, so.
Do you remember any like emotions, like particular events, images, anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember a lot. It stopped when I was like 9 because I went into foster care. My parents lost us in the system, and there's times that I'd go into a foster home and they'd win us back in court, and my father still tried to sell me out and stuff like that. But I don't know, once I got into the system, it kind of slowly went away.
Even though it may look like some girls are willing and stuff, you just never know the backstory, you know, of why it may seem like that, or why they, like, it's just crazy to think that people think that girls chose that life. You just don't wake up one day and say, oh, I want to be walking the track and have sex with men for money. Like, nobody ever wakes up thinking that.
Pimps actually prey on younger girls, so because they know that they're more stupid and naive, honestly. Like, they know that they're, you know, they see the vulnerableness in their eyes, and that's why they go after them, because they know that they're going to be easily tricked.
Tricked. I think it's very profound that she makes that point, that traffickers know what they're looking for. Traffickers target vulnerabilities, and we all have them. So when we talk about anyone can become a victim of human trafficking, our oldest victim at my nonprofit has been a 40-year-old mother with 3 children in the Ceres Unified School District. Our youngest victim has been an 11-year-old male boy. Traffickers target vulnerabilities, and we all have them. And so it's really important for us to remember that and what those survivors in our video shared with you. And who's targeting them? Here's a slide for you to see the faces of what a trafficker looks like. Remember, traffickers are male and female. Remember, traffickers are all ethnic backgrounds. They are white, they are brown, they are black, they are Asian, Caucasian, African American, Indian. They come in all ethnic cultural backgrounds. They are both male and female. These images that I'm showing you, 2 of these young men are from Riverbank, California. They were pimping out a young girl from Riverbank High School. Top right corner, my right, probably your left, Merced County, young girls being trafficked by him. In the lower right, my right, your left, this man and another man were arrested in San Bernardino County for trafficking 2 Modesto girls. The young girl in the middle of this slide was 16 years old when she began pimping out 14 and 15-year-old girls from her high school campus down in Kings County. Arrested and went to jail at 18 years old for being a pimp. And then the man in the tie in this dead center, want to make sure that you understand again what I said at the beginning, that traffickers come in all shapes, sizes, male, female, and socioeconomic backgrounds. This is the superintendent of schools, North Dakota. He was arrested for human trafficking for pimping out a 15-year-old boy on the internet. Remember that traffickers shop where youth hang out. Traffickers target vulnerabilities, and we all have them. And then traffickers understand this. This slide is of Maslow's hierarchy of rule. We all learned it in our freshman high school, but it is that psychological development to get someone to achieve or produce what you want them to produce, self-actualization. And so a trafficker will start early on in that psychological, where's the breakdown? What do you need? Are you in poverty? And therefore always worried that you're never going to have enough food in the refrigerator? Are you a foster youth where you've moved 8 times, you don't have a sense of family, you're never going to mainstream in school? Those psychological things that say, I can help you have a job, I can make sure you get money, and I'm for you. Our safety, I've got your back, we're a team, I'll protect you. Socially, let me introduce you to my peer group. Let me give you a family and a sense of belonging. Let me tell you how good you are at this and how you can help the family by making this kind of money. We see and hear this a lot when we're talking to survivors who have a familia connection to trafficking. One of their family members, mother or father, sister, brother, are their actual trafficker. This is what you do for the familia. And then there's that self-actualization moment that this is all you'll ever be. This is all you're good for. This is what you were put here to do. And then our victims will tell us that at some point, without being rescued, they just give themselves over to the reality of the torture and torment of their lives. And case in point, this slide. This is an actual quote from one of our survivors at Without Permission. My life had become a bargaining tool. I owed him my quota for allowing him to let me live another day. Self-actualization. He had brought her to that place, broken her down to such a place, and built her up to say, you owe me because I allow you to live. This is how traffickers target the vulnerable and then turn them out into a self-actualized product or commodity. I just want to give you an idea of what this might look like to you in the numbers and the volume and how important it is here in our local communities, and why I'm so grateful that you're taking the time for this snapshot of human trafficking today. We've served over 620 victims and survivors of sex trafficking and exploitation here in our organization in the Central Valley. 100% of the survivors we've served have been victims of sex trafficking. 85% of them, that means 8 out of 10 of the people we serve, call Stanislaus County and San Joaquin County home. These are our kids. 9 out of 10 call the state of California home. These are our kids. This crime works on a circuit. They come and recruit and groom our children and move them throughout the state and the circuit in order to sell their product. And again, I shared with you, the youngest victim has been an 11-year-old boy. I'd like to just give you a quick synopsis or snapshot, of what flags you might want to be looking for. When we talk about flags, as you continue to educate yourself, this is not a 15-minute conversation, but I'm glad you're with me today to have this conversation. When you continue to educate yourself and grab some of these little nuggets of information that I'm giving you today, remember that a red flag by itself does not mean human trafficking. But if you get 2 or 3 of these flags, you need to look in, you need to reach out to a Without Permission law enforcement, to the child welfare CPS, and get some people around you involved to help you find out if what you're really dealing with is human trafficking. And so again, one flag by itself does not mean human trafficking. You get 2 or 3 flags together that I'm going to share with you. You definitely want to reach out to some help and make sure that we can put on that lens and make sure that we can rescue or prevent someone from being trafficked. This slide will give you just some ideas of what would be red flags. Truancy. You have a student who never ditched school, all of a sudden they're ditching school. Again, by himself doesn't mean trafficking, but if they're ditching school and they have an older friend or boyfriend that controls their movement, where they are, when they can talk on the phone, what friends they can run with, or maybe they have some clothing that is out of their social economic scope. You know that they shop at Target. Why are they wearing something from BB's or some other brand, high-end brand that they would be wearing? You know that they really don't have the ability to get their nails done, carry a Coach bag, those types of things. They're fearful, depressed, crying, overwhelmed. These could be, again, signs of other teenage life situations. But if you've got this and you've got a brand new tattoo that maybe shows that they're in the trafficking life and a controlling event, it's time to get someone involved with you. I would encourage you with our flags, reach out to withoutpermission.org, go to our website. We can get you all the different resources, flags and tactics. We can get you data. We can get you language. We can help you understand. We can also help you if you come across someone. We can help meet with them and help you walk through that piece. If it's a crisis situation, call 911. Never, ever, ever get involved personally. It is dangerous. This is a very dangerous criminal activity here in our country, in our state, in our community. If you see something and it's happening and unfolding, call 911. Let law enforcement do the job they've been trained to do. And then also, I'd like to just give you this idea. Human trafficking is something that we together have to work together. If we're going to eradicate human trafficking, according to a 2007 study done by Shared Hope International and the United Nations, we need 4 components operating together. That is prevention, prosecution, protection, and partnership. And so you taking the time today to partner with me while we share this little snapshot of human trafficking, we are working together to end human trafficking right here at home. But it also takes prevention. in the classroom prevention training, which we do without permission, partnered with the county, partnered with our schools, partners with our parents, partner with our local churches, partners with law enforcement to do prevention work. We must educate our youth where traffickers are, how they target the vulnerable, and how to make sure that it never happens to them. And that restoration piece, we must be available to those that have been trafficked and help them come out into restoration and wholeness. And then the justice piece, we must make sure that we are prosecuting the criminals that are selling human beings as products. We must confront the demand that drives this crime. We must give our legal system the teeth that it needs and the laws in order to end this social media marketplace, if you will. So all of it working together is how we come together and eradicate human trafficking right here at home, in our county, across our state, and our nation. I'd like to leave you with this thought. I know it's a tall order that I shared with you today. And again, a snapshot of a very deep conversation that we can continue to have over the next weeks and months together. But I'd like to leave you with this thought. This is a quote from Edward Everett Hale. He said this: "I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do." Just by taking this time today and opening your mind and your heart to hear what I'm telling you, that it is here, that it is happening to our children locally, that it is happening in our community, in our state, you've already took a step towards helping us end human trafficking right here at home. Thank you for taking this time for a human trafficking snapshot.